Last call. The governor uses his executive order power to make a Semisonic song popular today. What's behind his reason to change closing time and when he wants it to be moving forward? It's a next question about athletes and the speed of their COVID-19 test results. There's a potential boycott coming to Fiddler's Green, but will Greenwood Village feel the impact?
It's kind of like when you come around the corner and the monster's standing there when you were 12 years old.
That thump in the night turned out to be real. Let's see if you would describe a bear the same way Dave does. Next.
1/4 of Colorado is in danger of losing its hall pass. 15 counties that have received variances from the state could lose them. A variance means the state health department gave its blessing for relaxed COVID-19 county health regulations. Well, today, the following counties are trending the wrong way, alphabetically. They're Adams, Arapahoe, Broomfield, Chaffee, Custer, Denver, Douglas, Eagle, El Paso, Garfield, Grand, Larimer, Mineral, Pitkin, and Prowers. These counties have been given permission to ease restrictions, but if positivity rates don't change in these counties, those variances will be taken away and it'll be back to the safer at home scenario, which will limit the amount of people who can be any one place at any given time. That was one of two big announcements from the governor's COVID-19 news conference today. The other headline, Colorado's closing time will be 10 p.m. instead of 2 a.m., at least for 30 days. Why? According to the governor, it's those pesky 20 to 29-year-olds who have the highest rate of COVID-19 spread.
You need to do what you can to make sure that we don't let our judgment lapse from social distancing because we're inebriated. If you want to get drunk, nobody's saying alcohol causes coronavirus. It doesn't. Have your 3 or 4 people over in your home. We need to modify our behavior. Your own health depends on it. Your own job depends on it, right? If we go backwards, so many young people work in the service industry, the restaurant industry, the retail industry. Those are the frontline jobs that are affected if our state or if a community goes backwards.
Going backwards is a reference to those counties that may lose their variance. As soon as the governor announced an earlier closing time, he immediately followed it by saying, when all is said and done, he wants lawmakers to get rid of that 2 a.m. closing time and let local governments make the decision for what's best. So I'm shrinking your business by 4 hours, but don't worry about it. I'll make it up to you in the future. After a record-setting Sunday of more than 12,000 tests processed, Colorado back down to earth. After yesterday, the state processed around 8,800 tests Monday. Our positivity once again hovered around that 5% mark or just under it, but our 7-day moving average is slowly trending up.
Tonight's next question comes to us from a viewer named Mark. He wants to know why the Broncos get their COVID-19 test results so quickly, when your average Joe usually has to wait days or sometimes even weeks to get their results back.
It's because athletes run fast. No, it's a good question, Mark. The short answer about length of time, as Ryan Harrer told us yesterday, is which lab conducts the test. Well, the Broncos and every NFL team will have their COVID-19 test done by BioReference Labs, which is based in New Jersey with labs in states like Texas, where the Broncos will send their tests. Player testing for the season begins Thursday. The players will be given the test inside what used to be the Kliss Cave, where 9 News Broncos insider Mike Kliss used to report from. The players will have a blood test for COVID-19 antibodies and then a swab test in the nose. And we're watching Bradley Chubb in a position we've never seen him before with that swab up his nose. He doesn't seem to mind too much. A team spokesman told me players will have to have 2 negative tests before they can get a physical for training camp. Those tests will get sent same day to a lab in Texas. Results will be known by 7 a.m. Once camp begins, players will be tested every day for at least 2 weeks. That same Broncos spokesman tells me the team's been assured that this rapid testing does not take away from local health resources for people like you and me. COVID-19 antibody tests, the kind that tell if you've recently been infected, now will do more than that. Our Ryan Harrer shows us how those tests could also help researchers understand the virus they've only been studying for a few months now.
If a particular antibody shows up in your blood, chances are you recently fought off COVID-19. And if you get that antibody test at University of Colorado Hospital, you can now check a box consenting to research that could tell us all much more.
If we knew when a patient presented at the hospital, emergency department, who was most likely to develop severe disease, there might be things we could do now to mitigate that severity.
That's Dr. Kathleen Barnes, director of the Colorado Center for Personalized Medicine, the group analyzing those samples from UC Health. Barnes wants to see the DNA of as many people who had the virus as possible. It may not just be age, heart disease, or diabetes that makes someone susceptible to severe side effects. Genetic makeup may hold the key to a better understanding of who is at higher and lower risk.
We know there have been major differences in how this disease affects individuals based on their ancestry. And ancestry is very important to us in our program. It's something we focus on, not just to include diverse populations, but to get a better understanding of the health disparities associated with COVID.
As smart as Dr. Barnes is, she is not analyzing these samples alone in her socially distanced home office. A vast network of scientists and researchers from around the world contribute samples and analysis to the COVID-19 Host Genetics Initiative. We're talking millions of samples in a database that Barnes hopes Coloradans will contribute to, as their work could lead to improved COVID-19 treatment therapies and possibly contribute to vaccine development.
I've always been a believer that there's a very strong altruistic nature to patients who want to help others and be part of something bigger than themselves.
For Next, I'm Ryan Harrer.
We hear you asking the question, so here's the answer: no. UC Health says your personal information is not included once your sample heads to the biobank, and the hospital aims to get 100,000 patients enrolled in that biobank each year. The number of hospitalizations in Colorado from COVID-19 took a decent one-day drop today. 248 Coloradans were in a hospital with COVID-19 compared to 275 yesterday. We need to see that number continue to trend downward over the next few days to know if this is a blip or a trend. 50 patients have been discharged or transferred in the last 24 hours. Colorado added 493 cases today. Our 7-day moving average is now up to more than 481 per day. That's up about 50 per day from 1 week ago. Colorado musicians held a concert in Greenwood Village as a protest to say they won't perform concerts in Greenwood Village anymore. That is, unless City Council reverses its resolution which protects police officers from financial liability if sued for wrongdoing. Fiddler's Green is in Greenwood Village, which isn't seeing any concerts right now anyways. But when it does, we took a look at what a boycott of Fiddler's Green would mean for Greenwood Village.
Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. The Lumineers. And the Flobots performed outside Greenwood Village City Hall last night to get City Council to rescind its Resolution 4020. Earlier this month, Greenwood Village City Council passed a resolution which would protect Greenwood Village police officers from being personally sued. Last month, state lawmakers passed a police reform package which could open up police officers to paying out of pocket if they're sued over actions they did at work. The bands say they'll refuse to play Fiddler's Green as long as the resolution exists. So what does Greenwood Village get out of Fiddler's Green? We found out police officers might get more than Greenwood Village. Off-duty officers that work concerts get paid $56 an hour. Supervisors make $61 an hour. The only benefit Greenwood Village gets directly from Fiddler's Green is sales tax revenue from concessions. No money from ticket sales, merchandise, or parking. There's also the indirect benefit from the thousands of people who probably eat in Greenwood Village on concert nights and pay sales tax at those businesses.
We're getting some snap feedback from something I explained yesterday and why you should care who was named the next Denver sheriff. I explained how more than $10 million in settlements have been paid because of actions inside the Denver jail. I called it the Denver County Jail. I should have said the Denver City Jail or Denver Detention Center. It's the facility off Colfax and Elati. The Denver County Jail by name is the facility off Smith Road and Havana Street. Thanks to April for catching me on that. You can always send us feedback anytime, emailing at next@9news.com or getting our attention like April did on Twitter with the hashtag HeyNext.
You're in luck. Hop in your truck, head to the Denver Animal Shelter, and go adopt not a dog or a cat.
I literally went from thinking, this is it. This is how I die. Like, this is bizarre.
The first-person account of the man who thinks living in the heart of Colorado's natural beauty is to die for. Next.
So you remember those random explosions that people in Netherlands were hearing? We told you 2 weeks ago about how authorities were doing controlled detonations of explosives found at a home in the Big Springs area. Well, according to the town administrator, the explosive material was allegedly being used by someone to try and create hash oil. An arrest has been made. We've all woken up in the middle of the night and thought we heard a noise coming from somewhere inside the house. For an Aspen man, his paranoia turned out to be right. A nighttime visitor scared the you-know-what out of him. He bears his story to Allie Levine.
It sounds like a nightmare.
I heard loud noises in the kitchen.
But that night, Dave Chernosky
I knew something was in there.
was very much awake.
It's kind of like when you come around the corner and the monster's standing there when you were 12 years old.
It really was a monster that woke Dave from his sleep at 1:30 in the morning. He walked out of his bedroom only to come face to face with a bear in his kitchen.
Yeah, not what I wanted to see.
It opened a lever door handle to get inside. Dave tried to stay calm. He talked to the bear and blocked the stairs down to where his kids were sleeping.
It seemed like I was doing everything the right way, and then there's that split second where it just sort of fell apart.
The bear did leave. Dave got it in the garage, but in an instant, something scared it back inside. It's hard to say who was more surprised when the man and the bear met in the dark hallway.
And bam, he hit me. It felt like a bat, or a brick. It's not a soft paw. I literally went from thinking, this is it. This is how I die. Like, this is bizarre.
Spoiler alert, Dave didn't die. He did, however, go to Grand Junction for surgery. Dave says the doctors told him the bear came within a 1/4 inch of his carotid artery.
I was lucky, but at the same time, the bear was kind of a jerk. Didn't really have to do that. I would have moved out of the way.
But Dave isn't planning to move out of the way of bears entirely. He and his family are making Aspen their home.
Colorado's to die for.
For next, I'm Allie Levine.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife believe the bear was a frequent visitor to Dave's neighborhood. In the past, they tried to haze and capture it, but that didn't keep it away. The bear was euthanized a few days after the attack.
Severe thunderstorm watch for Denver until 9 o'clock. Lots of moisture to work with today and enough heating of the day. Denver at 90 degrees. Tomorrow will be warmer, but with less thunderstorm activity. Severe thunderstorm watch extends through Denver up into Wyoming, and we will be tracking the hail potential tonight. We'll see storms maybe 2 inches in diameter. The hail will be very large around Holyoke, Sterling, Fort Morgan, and out to the North Platte area. And there's still the chance that we might see a brief shower yet in Denver tonight. And so, as we check out the forecast, partly cloudy, 59, a stray storm early and then clearing. Tomorrow with sunshine, 94 degrees. We have temperatures in the 90s through the weekend with a cooling trend and a better chance of rain from storms late Sunday into Monday of next week.
The Denver Animal Shelter is quite quacktastic.
I love taking care of the more unique animals just because not everybody has that draw to them.
There's a surefire way to get people to look beyond the dogs and cats. A catchy name really helps. Like Next.
I've made a few rhymes leading up to this story. What's with one more? Why not? Adopt, don't shop. If only because if you aren't looking at local animal shelters for your next pet, you would miss out on some of the unique animals with unique names at the Denver Animal Shelter. Like the shelter that tweeted out one of the ducks here named Quack Sparrow last week. It caught our eye because, well, it's a duck and that name. We quickly learned he wasn't the only animal with a clever name. We needed to know more, so we sent photojournalist Foster Gaines to go look at some pets.
A lot of times people are looking for a dog or a cat and they just don't realize that we've got pretty much everything else here as well. I love taking care of the more unique animals just because not everybody has that draw to them. So the unique thing about these roosters is their names that we've given them. We've got Caesar Salad, Reginald Rooster Jr. So the white one with the speckles down there is David Beacom. He's loud. He likes to talk. He He likes to tell you what's going on. Yes, so we have another rooster. His name is Omelet. It's just kind of fun for us to just name them food type names as well. These ducks came in as strays, and their names are Quack Sparrow, he runs the roosts to speak, and Quacklemore. Quacklemore I'm not so sure about. I don't know on that one. So here we are with Bunnicula. I kind of think it's supposed to be like a play on Dracula, and probably just because he's, you know, white rabbit with the red eyes. He's been such a friendly rabbit, and, you know, everybody here really loves him, so we're all kind of surprised that he hasn't been adopted yet. Some people might keep the name, some people might change it, but that unique name sometimes can be a draw for them to come in the first place. So this guy here is Admiral Egbar. I like Star Wars, and so he kind of got his name from that. I mean, it's a lot of fun to come up with the names for them, and then if they have an interesting name, maybe somebody might come down and be interested in adoption. They're looking for homes just like everybody else, and they really deserve to have good homes.
There's so much to unpack here. Bunnicula, has no one read that from being a child? And Omelet? We're going to name one of them Omelet? If you're interested in adopting any of the unique animals, like Omelet, at the Denver Animal Shelter, we'll post a link on this story on 9news.com. Just an FYI, check with your county rules before you adopt an exotic pet. If it's how you Texas, then guess what? It's chances that it's not how you Colorado. Bringing back the classic segment upon viewer demand, we blurred the plates, but let's just say how you Texas is parking in the bike lane in Frisco. Angela sent us the photo. Someone pointed out online, this could be a rental. That's true. So on second thought, let's leave Texas out of it. It's just not how you Colorado. Someone has questions about my background and a minor detail, plus your feedback next. A few of you have commented on my background and the really off-color Z helmet. Ramona emailed me saying her daughter was trying to figure out which school this represents. Jeff D, Jeff M, Mike, and Greg all know it's a Denver Zephyrs helmet, the former AAA baseball team before we had the Colorado Rockies. And I'm not the only one with this interesting color. Now it's got awful color. Greg Youngren sent me some photos of his 3-year-old granddaughter Haley repping the same Z. She's definitely the winner of who wore it better. Your feedback tonight means I'm incomplete with some of my reporting. Karen in Thornton owns a bar and wants to know if the change of closing time takes effect tonight, tomorrow, when. Governor Polis was asked about that at his news conference. He just said it would take effect before Friday. So Karen, if it's going to happen tonight, it's really bad communication, and I don't see the executive order in my email yet. You might be safe tonight. We'll see you next time.